Hey viewers, Rick's here. Well, anyway, I was asked by a viewer on the channel if these quick transfers will work on canvas. Now, I have here a flatboard canvas. They're called canvas panels. You know how I know that? Because it says right there, canvas panels. And this is a 12 by 24, so you can see a really thin, kind of a hard board, but it's canvas. And I also have here the other kind of canvas because I want to touch on some points. Now this is a canvas that I had laying around, I was just goofing off with. You can see I got a bunch of images. I'm just sticking things all over it, figuring I can cover it up. You can see that one transfer sheet isn't going to cover a big old canvas like this, so I'm just putting a bunch of little images all over and everything, and you know, it's just a lot of, I don't know, thises and that's, but you can see it does transfer on canvas. But I wanted to bring this one out for a reason. And if you see right here on the back, it has you know, this frame here, and when you push down on the top here, it's going to bend in, see? So when you want to make transfers onto a canvas that has a frame like this, you need something to put underneath to make it solid and flat so that you can press on the top of it, okay? So that's what I wanted to bring that out, but we're not going to do it on this. We're going to do it on the board here because it's easier. It's already flat. And so when it comes to pressing down with the roller brayer thing here, it's not going to be, you know, you're not going to have it pressing down like you will with the frame type that you need to support underneath. All right. I just wanted to make sure that I get that point out. Now, the thing about canvas or any other surface, okay, it doesn't matter what the surface is, you always should test it. Because, you know, we've done wood, we've done metal, you know, and done canvas and paper. But, you know, if you're not sure whether it will transfer on a particular material, test it first. You know, especially if you spent money on that, whatever it is that you're going to do a transfer on, okay? Get a little piece somewhere and test it first to see if it works. But the key to any transfer is that the surface needs to be as smooth as possible and definitely clean. Well, what is it about canvases that it's not really smooth? It actually has a rough texture to it because, you know, they use some kind of this, I don't know what it's called, but it's kind of a, well, it's a canvas material, okay? And then they gesso on top of it. That's the white that you see on here. But it's those threads that are inside that canvas that's rough, right? Okay, so we're going to do a transfer onto this rough, and we're going to take a look and see how well it does, even though it's not a flat surface. Because you got to remember that if you don't transfer onto a flat surface, you run the risk of the transfer not being able to get into the little crevices that exist in surfaces that are not flat. I mean, it just makes common sense. You're going to put an image down on a surface and you're going to roll it on to that surface, and yet you've got these divots in your surface. How is the image going to get down into those, right? So there are things you can do to level the surface, but we're going to do this without leveling or pre-treating the surface first. These here that I did, I actually pre-treated the surface. You know, I'll use clear gesso, or I'll use glue or Mod Podge or something, and a card, and go like this, and then it hardens and it gives me a flatter surface to work with. But first things first, let's do this with without, you know, messing with the surface itself. We're not going to pre-treat it or anything, okay? We're just going to put our gel medium on here directly, and then we're going to transfer. Now, what I did is I created some Ford logos here And the reason I chose it is because I'm wearing a Ford shirt. So I thought, you know what, I'll just do some Ford logos here. I'm not technically a Ford guy or a Chevy guy. I'm a car guy. I like them all. So I don't have any brand loyalty one way or the other. But if I got a Ford shirt or a Ford hat, I'm definitely going to keep it. If I have a Chevy hat or a Chevy shirt, I'm definitely going to keep it. I've owned all those hot rods and so forth. I like them all. Okay. Now for this, I'm actually going to sacrifice one of my brand new canvas panels so that I can demonstrate for all of you who have the question as to whether you can transfer onto canvas. So this is going to be my guinea pig panel, you might say. And this is 1/3 of a sheet. I've got 3 different logos here, so we can test more than once. And you have to print it mirrored, okay? Because when you transfer it, it's going to be flipped over. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to get an idea of how much space I want to put gel medium on. So I'm going to go ahead and just plop this down. Let's see, am I in the camera there? Yeah, okay, right here. Okay, so I know that my image, let's do this first. I'm going to go ahead and fold this right to almost the edge of my image so that I can gauge how much gel medium I need. Okay, so I fold that there, and plus it makes it easy to peel off too. Alright, and I could also do it the other way. So let's see, I'm going to fold this back here. Alright, so anyway, there we go. Alright, so let's say I'm going to put it on here. Hopefully I folded it correctly because I can anticipate or estimate that I have this straight on here. I hope so. But anyway, I'm going to put a little mark here with a pencil, a little mark there, and a little mark there, and a little mark there. Okay, so I know pretty much the area that I need to. I don't have to put gel all over the place, make a big old mess for nothing. Okay, let's get right into it with some gel medium. I'm using Liquitex right now, Liquitex, but I also use like Blick. It's cheaper, but I bought this big old thing of Liquitex, so we'll go with that. All right, and then you want, again, like I've done in all my videos, you want to get in here and you want to put enough so that it's still wet when you put the transfer on, but it's not too wet where it wrinkles up the paper because it gets all soaked. You don't want it all soaked, okay? But you do want it to make sure that it's still wet. It's not dry or sticky, because then you've gone and let it dry too far if it's sticky. And I'm putting it on initially with this brush. I normally use my finger, and I'll still do that. But I'm going to put the initial one on with my brush here. Alright. Now I'm going to take my finger here with a paper towel and standby. Right, and make sure that this is still nice and wet. Don't let it dry on you, or don't let it get sticky, because then it's already in the drying phase. You still want it nice and moist when you lay your transfer down. Anywhere you miss, you won't get a transfer, okay? So just keep that in mind. Alright, and this also helps to make sure you don't have too much. You don't want too much either. Alright, so that's a nice thin coat, right? Not a big deal. Okay, and where's that one I folded up? There it is. So I'm going to put this down in here like so. Put my finger there in the middle to hold it from sliding around. And I'm going to use my finger here just to get it initially held down and make sure that I take out any air. Alright. Now I can see I need to ooze some of this out, so now I'm going to use my brayer, and I'm just going to, well, I had quite a bit under there, didn't I? Wipe up the excess, wipe up the excess. Okay.
Now you notice I don't have my timer going here, which I have done. I've done that in the videos because I just wanted you guys to see how quick this really is. But you don't need it. You just get a feel for how long it takes, you know. Now this is not, remember, this is not unpainted wood. This is painted canvas, which means that it's not going to dry as fast as if this was unpainted wood. Okay, big difference. So what happens? Okay, this paper I'm already accidentally hitting underneath it and pulling it up, so I'm really messing things up. I hope I don't have to do a retake on this because I'm being like a real maniac with this. But here we go. Now I can feel this is really wet, so I want this to dry. And if it was unpainted wood, it would take about 30 seconds with a hairdryer, which I happen to have one laying around here somewhere. Haha. All right. But with a painted surface, you don't get that porous airflow, whatever going on here. The gel medium doesn't soak in as fast, and so you may need to take a couple of minutes with a hairdryer. So here we go. Now, I accidentally pulled this up a couple of times. I'm hoping I have enough gel under here after it did that. So I'm just kind of giving a little bit of a heads up on this. But I accidentally pulled this up, and so I hope it didn't mess it up. But you want to make sure, I was rolling it some more, so you want to make sure that it's nice and flat, and that you've got good adhesion all the way through. Any spots that lifts is in danger of not transferring. Okay, let's keep drying. I can feel it's still moist. Okay, you want to make sure that this is absolutely dried. If this was, again, if this was unpainted, untreated, smooth wood, literally I could roll this, and within 1 minute from the time that I pressed it down, I could peel this thing off with no need to rub paper off, no need to wet it, don't do any of that stuff. As I've demonstrated in my no rubbing, no wetting video. But with that said, I highly recommend that it be wetted.
I was showing you don't have to on certain circumstances, like untreated, like unpainted wood and so forth. But you definitely want to make sure that it is dry, and you do want to moisten it when you're on any other surface. It's just highly recommended if you want to get the best full transfer. If you are in doubt, sometimes it feels like it's dry, but there may be like little spots under here that are not really dry yet. They're still moist. You may not want to rush it. You may want to take 3-4 minutes to make sure you have a thorough dry with your hairdryer. It depends on just how important it is to you that you get a 100% peel off. All right. So it's each person's preference on. Some people like that little look of having little specks not transferring over. It gives it kind of an antique, worn look. But if you want it, like you're doing a family photo, you're going to lacquer the top of it. You may not want that. You may want a complete 100% transfer. Another thing too is that if you are doing a full sheet transfer, that is the most difficult to do because you have such a large area that you have to apply gel. And when you're working on, let's say, putting it on the top part, well, the bottom part's already starting to dry. Depending on the surface. Now, a canvas surface, because it's painted with gesso, may take longer for that gel medium to dry, so you have the time to do it. But you have to experiment. It's just hard to cover every single contingency without testing. All right, I'm going to go and give this another 30-second blast just to make absolutely sure that I get a good transfer, because if I just get any little sense that it's still kind of on the moist side, then I risk not getting a clean transfer, okay? All right, I think that's dry. I can try to pull on it and see if it's held on really strong, and if so, yeah, it feels like it's glued on. Okay, if you see here, I'm pulling on it and the paper's starting to rip because it's glued on. All right, so that's good. So we're going to need to use some moisture to release this paper from the image. And since I've already started tearing it here, I'm going to go from this end and pill this way. So you want a little bit of water. Just so happens I have a little bit right there. I have to get this thing refilled. And I use a sponge brush to deliver the water. And before I do that, get a paper towel ready, clean paper towel. You're going to use it to take up the excess, all right? Very important if you don't want to be peeling this off in 2-3 strips. So here, 100% coverage with water in the back. It's real simple to do. Just brush it on like so. And this is going to activate the coating on the paper and allow for a nice release. It soaks right through the paper to the other side, and I can see it absorbing already through the paper, okay? And then once you do that, and you're pretty sure that you've given it a good moisturing there, okay, now what you want to do is you want to take up the excess, because that allows the paper to be a little stronger when peeling off. And just less tearing that way. I kind of liked having a complete peel as opposed to doing 2-3 peels, but it really doesn't hurt it if you have to peel it 2-3 times. All right, then I'm going to grab a corner here and I'm going to pull it across itself.
Okay, I got a little tear. Would you believe it? It's right where I started going the opposite direction. So it's not a big deal. Just get it started somewhere in a corner, like so. You need something to grab onto, you know. Okay, I think I got it. I have no nails, but it comes right off. See, this is not the same as rubbing paper like this you see on some YouTube videos. After you glue and let it dry overnight or whatever the case may be, you're doing this rub, 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 wet, 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 rub, 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 wet, 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 you know, that type of thing. This is a clean removal. Check that out. Okay? All right. So this here, even though I made all kinds of mistakes, I did some really bad. I'm just cleaning up the excess glue on the ends here. I want to make a nice little logo. I got pencil marks. That's what I'm sitting there rubbing. Rather than having to sit there and wet, rub, and then you end up, you know, you don't even get as rich a color of a transfer as you do with this paper. But you see how easy that just peels off. And just virtually no maintenance afterwards. You know, just clean up any excess you got there. But take a look at that. I'll try to move that up to the camera best I can there. But see, that is on canvas. All right? And that came out beautiful. The canvas itself, especially this canvas panel, it's smooth enough that you get a really good transfer. I got a 100% release. As you can see here, not one speck was left behind. But, you know, if you have areas that have dips in it and it's not smooth, or you have areas that didn't have any gel there, or you didn't press, you know, with this, or it was still wet and you didn't dry it. See, there's things you may leave some image behind. But you saw that I was like, I'm going to give it an extra 30 seconds of heat. I'm going to make sure I pressed it down really good. You see what I was doing there? And because I took the time to do that, and it's still all within 5 minutes, I have me a nice transfer. Will it transfer onto canvas? I think it speaks for itself. Yes, it does transfer onto canvas. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and if you're interested in this paper, it's available through my website, rickscandoit.com. Or you can just go down in the description area and you'll see there's a link down there. All right, and I do appreciate your support. It really helps support this channel and the Ricks Can Do It drawing tutorial channel, which I don't charge for teaching people how to draw. So this all helps support me in helping produce those videos for you. I'll see ya. Bye.